I ruined everything myself. My name, maybe it doesn't matter that much anymore. Today people call me Grandma Rose. But there was a time when I was just Rose. Young, beautiful, and so foolish that I believed life would always go the way I wanted. Today I am 58 years old, and every night before I sleep, one question keeps me awake. If I had stopped that day, could everything have been saved? My husband, Daniel, he was a crane driver, working on the city's big construction sites. It was still dark in the morning when he left home, and he returned at night, exhausted. But one thing never changed, the love in his eyes for me. He often used to say, "Rose, one day I will build a home for you in the city, where you will never lack anything." I used to smile, but deep inside, I never truly understood his hard work. The truth is, I felt lonely. The house was small, the days were filled with long silence, and I just kept waiting. In the beginning, I used to wait for him. Then slowly, I started running away from that waiting. His name was Michael. He had just moved into our neighborhood. He didn't talk much, but whenever he did, I felt like someone was truly seeing me, understanding me, not the way Daniel looked at me, but the way I wanted to see myself. The first time I met him, it was just a small conversation, then another, and then it became a habit. I knew I was wrong. Every time Daniel left for work in the morning and lovingly said to me, "Take care of yourself, Rose," my heart would stop for a moment. But as soon as his car disappeared around the corner of the street, I began living the biggest lie of my life. Michael would come over. We would sit and talk, laugh together, and slowly, that relationship crossed the line from where it becomes hard to return. At that time, I couldn't understand that the very thing making me feel alive was the same thing slowly hollowing out my life. Today, when I look back, I realize this. Daniel was giving me everything, and I was taking everything away from him without ever telling him. And then, one day, the moment came when my story was no longer just a mistake, but became a crime. Sometimes a sin doesn't happen all at once. It slowly makes a place in your heart, just like light raindrops quietly soak the ground. My relationship with Michael was just like that. There was no big decision, no single moment where everything changed, just small meetings that slowly turned into a habit. At first, he would only come to the door for some small reason. Then he started coming inside, then sitting, then staying, and then leaving became difficult. I remember one day, it was raining, very lightly, but constantly. We were both sitting by the window. I didn't say anything at that moment, just watching the raindrops falling on the glass. "You're lonely, aren't you?" he asked softly. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was very simple, and I was afraid to say it. "I don't know," I replied quietly. He moved closer to me, so close that I could feel his breath. In that moment, I closed my eyes, not because I had something to hide, but because I didn't want to face myself. Time felt different with Michael. There were no responsibilities, no waiting, no exhaustion, only moments that kept passing, and I didn't want to stop them. Sometimes we wouldn't even talk. We would just sit beside each other, as if the silence itself was saying everything. And then that silence slowly turned into a feeling where words were no longer needed. I remember one time he held my hand, a very gentle grip, as if he was asking, "Can I stay here?" And I didn't pull my hand away. After that day, I never stopped anything. Every day I kept telling myself, "This is just for a while. I am in control. No one will ever know." But somewhere deep inside, I knew I was not in control. I was living two lives, one where I was a loyal wife, and one where I couldn't even recognize myself. And the most dangerous part was, I had started finding the second life easier. Today, when I look back, I understand. I was not alone. I was just running away from my loneliness. But every escape comes to an end one day. And when that day comes, a person doesn't just fall, they shatter. That day, there was a strange warmth in the air. No rain, no cold, just a heaviness that I could feel in my heart. I didn't try to stop myself that day. Maybe somewhere deep inside, I was already tired of living two lives. Michael came, just like always, but that day we both spoke less, as if we both knew where this was heading. There was a silence in the room, deep, heavy, and this time, there was a decision hidden within that silence. I was sitting at the edge of the bed, and he was standing in front of me. "How long?" he asked softly. I understood what he meant. How long would this continue? How long would I keep running from myself? I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't look away. I don't know, I replied quietly. He came closer to me, so close that there was no distance left between us. In that moment, I stopped thinking about everything. Not Daniel, not the house, not right or wrong, only that moment. That day, I crossed a line I had promised myself I never would. I won't describe what happened, because some mistakes don't need details to be understood. The weight of them is enough. And then, a sound came. And the strange thing was, in that moment, I wasn't afraid. Fear, perhaps it was meant to come. After everything was already over, in the room there were only breaths and a silence filled with truth. Then a sound came, as if the door had opened. My eyes snapped open instantly. My body froze. Michael lifted his head too. Footsteps moving straight through the hallway, coming toward our room. My heart was pounding so hard I felt like it would shatter. Who could that be? Michael whispered, but I already knew the answer, and that answer shook my soul. The door slowly opened, and he was standing there. Daniel. This time, there was no confusion, no doubt, no question, just one look that pierced straight through the heart. I couldn't even get up, couldn't say a word. He looked at us for a few seconds, just kept looking, as if his world was falling apart right before his eyes. Rose, he said my name, and in that voice, there was so much pain that I have never been able to forget it. In that moment, I had already died, but what was about to happen was even more dangerous than this. In that moment, time stood still. No sound, no movement, just 3 breaths, tangled in the same room. Daniel was standing at the door. In his eyes was everything that could never be put into words. He didn't shout, he didn't ask questions, and maybe that was the most terrifying part. How long? He asked softly. There was no anger in his voice, only exhaustion and brokenness. I moved my lips, but no sound came out. Michael slowly stood up, as if he wanted to control the situation. Look, we can talk, he said. Be quiet, Daniel said firmly for the first time. The air in the room changed. It was the first time I had seen Daniel like this. He wasn't just in pain, nor just in anger. He was somewhere in between, where a person can't even recognize themselves. Rose, just tell me the truth once, he said, looking at me. There was still hope in his eyes, small, broken, but still there, and I still couldn't say anything. That was my last chance, where maybe everything could have stopped. But I lost that too. Michael took a step forward. Leave her. I'll explain. Daniel looked at him, and in that look there was only one thing left, anger. Then everything happened very fast. A shove, a scream, the sound of something hitting and falling. I stepped back. My head hit the wall, and I just kept watching. I don't remember who moved first, who fell first. I only remember this. Oh, that moment ended very quickly, and when the silence returned, Daniel was on the floor, completely still. My breath stopped. Daniel? I said in a trembling voice. No answer. I went closer to him, dropped to my knees, held his face in my hands. Get up, please get up. But he didn't. Michael was standing behind me, his hands shaking. It was an accident, he said with difficulty. I didn't mean to, but it didn't matter to me anymore. I only knew one thing. We had destroyed everything, not just a relationship, not just a home, but a person who loved me beyond limits. A silence spread through the room, one that would never end. And in that silence, my life changed forever. After that night, life didn't stop, but it also stopped moving forward. The house was the same, the walls the same, the faces the same. Only one thing was missing, peace. What we told the police, how we told it, it's all a blur now. I only remember that everything was buried under the name of an accident. People expressed their condolences. For a few days they came, and then slowly, everyone returned to their own lives. And me? I stayed right there, in that house, where everything reminded me of Daniel. His coffee mug, still sitting on the shelf, his jacket, still hanging by the door, and his voice, now living only in my memories. Michael stayed with me for a few days. Then he too began to drift away. One day he said, "We can't live here. This isn't right." I looked at him, and for the first time I didn't see the comfort in him. The very comfort I had risked everything for. He left, and I was alone. This time, truly alone. Days passed, months went by, but time didn't fix anything. Every night, I returned to that same moment when the door opened, and Daniel was standing there, his eyes, his breaking. It all stayed alive inside me. Then one day, the phone rang, an unknown number. I picked it up. Hello, am I speaking to Mrs. Rose? I said softly, yes. He said, I'm calling from Citibank. Your husband, Mr. Daniel, had applied for a property in your name a few years ago. My breath stopped. Property? I managed to say. Yes, he had purchased a house, and now it has officially been approved. You just need to come and complete the paperwork. My hands began to tremble. A house? I repeated. Yes, ma'am. A new house, in a good area of the city. Everything was put in your name. The call ended, but my world shattered in that very moment. I slowly sat down on the floor, and for the first time, I cried uncontrollably. The kind of crying that had been buried inside for years. I remembered his words. Rose, one day I will build a home for you in the city. And he had built it. Only, I wasn't with him that day. I was with someone else. In that moment, I understood. He had spent his entire life giving everything to me, and I had taken his entire life away from him. That house was not a gift for me. It was my punishment. I went to that house, the one Daniel had dreamed of, in a quiet part of the city, white walls, large windows, and a small garden in front, exactly the way he always described it. When I stepped inside, everything was new, but I could feel his presence everywhere. The living room, where he probably wanted to sit with me and drink coffee. The kitchen, where he used to say, on Sundays I'll make breakfast for you. And the bedroom, where a new life was meant to begin. I walked slowly, looking at every room, as if I was watching someone else's life. Then I stopped, near the window, the same place, from where the sunset was visible. Just like he used to say, in the evenings, we'll stand here and watch the city lights. My hands began to tremble. I sat down on the floor and hid my face in my hands. Daniel, I whispered softly, but there was no one to answer, only silence. And my breath. That day I understood some houses are not built with bricks alone. They are built with love, and I had destroyed my own love. I never made that house my own. I lived there, but I didn't truly live. Every morning, I woke up with that same guilt, and every night, I went to sleep with it. Years passed. My face grew old. My hair turned white. But that one day, that one moment, never became old. Today I am 78 years old, and I am telling this story because some truths become heavier when buried inside. If you are listening to this, then remember one thing. Running away from loneliness is easy, but the price is very expensive. Do not ignore the people who love you. Otherwise, one day, you may have everything, but not the person for whom everything mattered. I am Rose, and this is the story of my life, a story where I gained everything and lost everything,